Let's next have a look at how the server side is able to construct the page that is being sent to the client computer. And the basic idea behind this is server-side scripting. So this is how, for example, the PHP does the same thing, and that's the most popular scripting language. So it means the HTML code generation is automated in the server end. That means there is some kind of a program or script that is being run in the server computer, which creates this HTML document that it sends to the client. And of course, this is also, in addition to PHP, this is also possible with other languages. And in this case, in our case, we will look at how it is being done with the classic ASP with .NET programming languages. And here you can see a piece of code that has been taken from a very simple web application, and that has been written with C# language, and it's being implemented in the classic ASP style. So basically what you see here is that we have here some elements that you recognize. Namely, we have the HTML tags, the head and title, body as well, and the header tags h1 as well. But then in between the HTML tags, you can see some code that looks like C# code, which is this for loop you can see here. And if we look closer to what the for loop does here, in between some pure HTML, is that we have some command write, which you recognize also probably from the programming course. Only now this write command is not connected to object console, but in this case is connected to object response. So response object is the same for a web application as console is for console application. So if we write something on the response object, it will show up in the client end in the page contents what it receives from the server. Let's look a little bit more close to this response write line that we have here. So we have some pure text saying hello world, and then we have a part that contains a reference to a variable I. And this variable I is being changing its value in the loop, in the for loop that is written 2 rows above. And in this loop, the I will get different values on different rounds. So on each different round, it will have some value in between, 0 and 10. And then what we see in the response. So now I'm talking about this response that is being sent to the client side. We can see that we can see only some text that is compatible with HTML language. So all this hassle with response write and for loop, it disappears when the client sees the contents of the document. So this for loop is being used here just to generate some text in between those static HTML parts like the header and the body part. And here is another example which is a little bit more complicated, because this example will also get some information from the user side. So basically this application corresponds to some view where there are few text boxes, and then there is also one button that can be used to make the page request. We will shortly see how this looks in the browser. But again, we can identify several different HTML tags and with their labels and different parameters here as well. So we have a specific part, which is the form part here. And we also have some inside the form part, we have some input controls, which are text boxes and the button. But then we also can see that we have some parts that are not HTML, but they are C# code. And the first segment here from the second to the sixth row of the code, we can see some code that is taking care of dealing with the information that comes together with the page request from the client side. So the object request is the object where we can see the state of the different controls at the time when the page request was made from the client side. And if we look closer to the request objects, we can see that there is a reference to the form part of the request object, which actually is something like an array of things. And then we have a reference to two different form objects whose names are text1 and text2. So this is the way how we can extract the data from these user controls that appear on the client side, and bring them over to the server side and then do something with them. And moreover, further, same applies here as in the previous slide, is that we can also use this information in order to generate the HTML that goes back to the client side. So let's next have a look at this same code in the Visual Studio environment, and then how it looks there in the browser side.